Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time, and I'm here for another Monday This and That vlog where I talk about whatever I feel needs to be talked about, lead you back to some old videos, answer some questions that have come in, or just giving you updates such as what's going on in the garden right now. So let's get to the topics of today. And the first thing I wanted to mention were these new clothespins I got in. And it was one of my followers that told me about this company that sells these, and they're out of Canada. They're a family-based business, and they sell these clothespins. Now, these aren't made in Canada, but they're made in Italy rather than China, which is very cool. And though I still like the stainless steel ones that I bought a couple of years ago, they've been great. These are better. They're more expensive, but they're definitely better made, heavy duty, and the strength of them and those ridges and the surface area are great for hanging up heavy jeans, especially Patrick's double front work jeans. Those are the heaviest ones, and these hold them up no problem on my clotheslines. So I'm not an affiliate with this company, but I'm all about trying to promote any small base business that is not in China, as long as it's a good product, it's made well, and especially family-based businesses. And again, this is out of Canada, and Italian-made clothespins, which of course I'm gonna love, being that my ancestry is from Italy. So I'll be linking to that company down below if you're interested. They do have other products as well. Now let's talk a bit about the garden and what's going on there. So we finally had a stretch of a few nice days where the ground was also dry enough where I could get a few things done. And I was really late doing this, which isn't so bad because just like last year, our spring has been very cold, but I did finally get most of my potatoes in the ground. And also because this last week, I have not had the grandbabies except for on Monday. That was the only day I had one grandbaby, so I was actually able to get a few things done. So I fenced off the area out front like I usually do this time of year once I put the potatoes in the ground so the chickens can't get in there and dig them up. Got that done. The chickens still have a small little run that they get to use where the stinging nettle is, and they like it. They still like it in there. They'll hang out in there in the early morning hours when the sun's hitting that area. They love it there. They just don't get out there in the rest of the area and dig everything up. So I got those potatoes in the ground. I got the chicken coop cleaned out of the winter bedding, and I usually put that in any area where I've got plants that like acidic soil, such as potatoes, corn, and so on. Mostly I just focused on the two other potato patches in the back. One of them is planted, the other one I'm leaving, and that's in the area that's covered so that the chickens still have an area to go and hang out on wet days, since I've been keeping the greenhouse shut most of the time. Because though we've had some nice days and it's getting warmer in the greenhouse, I still try to keep it warm in there as much as possible because I do have good amount of my tomatoes moved out there. Still in pots, not in the ground yet though. So anyway, I put all that bedding in there, put some fresh bedding down, and then in the patch, the other area where I'm still also allowing the chickens to dig around in, what I do, and I've been doing this for years, is anytime I have like a new plant that it's just, it's not established enough, if it's a perennial, that the chickens might just easily dig it up, I will take one of my old hanging baskets and just invert it and put it over the top and then drive a stick into the ground, and that holds that in place so they can't move it with their big strong feet. And I've done that with potatoes, even out front. I've done that in the past, but now since I put so many out there and I don't have that many baskets, I just go ahead and fence them off from that area, because I finally gave up on them several years ago, really growing anything and having it last through the winter. Even perennials just don't make it through the winter, and those, even though they drain well, we just get too much rain and it's too much exposure. So I found other uses for the hanging pots, and that's one of them. I use them all the time for protecting my various plants from my chickens if they're in areas where I'm either still allowing them to free range until I'm ready to close the whole area off, or it's in an area where they can get to at any time. Then the other thing I've done is recycled the chains off of them. So I've taken the chains all apart and I use them all over the place. I've hung them off the corner of the house out here on the deck, and those get used for my beans to climb up, because I put beans all over the place. I have them in the ground on trellises, and I have them in pots, and anytime they're in a pot, there's a chain there where they can climb up that chain. That's been working really good. So if your hanging pots aren't doing it for you, find another use for them, and they can even look nice too. They don't have to look ugly. I'm still getting a lot of nettle, dehydrating it up. I just about got my first jar filled. I plan on putting up a lot of jars because I've been using nettle more and more, not just in cooking, but also in adding to the chicken feed because it's really good for them. And I want to start putting it in the dog's food. I've done it before, but I tend to forget. And then also for us as well. So I want to get quite a few jars of this. I've just about got this jar full of the Camellia flowers, but they're just about done. But I can tell already I got about twice as many flowers as I did last year. If you're interested on the benefits of either of these two things, by the way, and how you can use them, I do have a video I did last year on Camilla, the plant, Camilla Japonica in particular. And the uses for the leaves and the petals are in there. So you can check that out. I'll link to it down below. And also the video I did on nettle several years ago. But I even have a video on cooking with nettle I can link to down below. I also got a few more things planted. Not much to show in pictures other than just dirt. But I got my lettuce started finally. Again, I waited longer this year just because of how cold it's been. And I also got my peas in the ground finally. Also waited longer than usual on those. And got some nasturtiums started as well as calendula, and hopefully it won't get so cold that I have to start those over again. I don't think I should have to. And beans and corn, those are things I wait until about the 1st of May. And then carrots, I'll probably plant those in June. But one more thing I wanted to bring up gardening related was last year I finally got myself some walking onions, something I've been meaning to do for years but kept forgetting. But a lot of people recommended walking onions. I think I got 3 sets because they were kind of expensive, but I wanted the most mature ones I could get. And I planted those in our carrot boxes out front because I wanted them in a good, safe location. And sure enough, this year, a lot of little baby onions coming up. So I'm really happy about this. And I still not harvesting the old ones. I want to just really fill those boxes up with onions first. And so hopefully this will be the year for that, where I can start harvesting and using some of those and then just keep continuing those on. I can see those are going to be a great option for us. But I do, as I've said before, also get green onions. Whenever I buy green onions from Misfits Market, I usually do that this time of year to replenish any that didn't make it through the winter, get those planted in pots on both my decks, front and back, and then just harvest those green onions all through the season, clear up until early winters. I can usually keep getting green onions and then just leave them. Some will come back in the spring. Some won't make it through the winter. No big deal. Just buy some more, use those up, plant the white part. Then I've got green onions for the rest of the year, and I end up dehydrating a bunch too, what I'm not using right away. Now, a couple of questions I got that I want this past week was, one, we had the first EMP Shield video come out. We are very new to these, so no, we specifically have not tested them, but I want to state that we have got to know the vice president and his wife fairly well. They are homesteaders themselves. Again, this is all a US-based business. They do their own testing, and they meet or exceed the 3 mil spec standards. So I feel pretty good about these things, but you can always look into the company yourself. Just go to the link that you'll find in the description box down below and just read up on them themselves. Though we have not had a lightning strike or an EMP or something like that to test it against ourselves, we can't give you any testimonies on that. We can just attest to the fact that we at least know one of the people in the company, good people, and I really appreciate their service. They're easy to talk to. Patrick has called them several times asking questions, and they're super nice and just very, very helpful. And then another question I got in that I hadn't thought of before, thought was really interesting, because I know a lot of people have bailed out of PayPal, which I totally understand. Well, I have that video I did maybe 2 years ago on Honey, the Honey program, and ways that you can earn cash from Honey. Now, when I first started with Honey, the only way that I knew of then that you could get paid for the money that you build up in the account by using it. And if you want more information on that and how it works, I'm not going to go into all that here. It's too long. Please go see the honey video on how you can save money and earn cash from it. That I'll link to in the description box down below. But anyway, it's a great program. But if you've bailed from PayPal and you're like, well, how am I going to get my money out? Now, I don't know if they have other payment methods, like if they can go directly to your checking account or other ways that they can pay you. But one new thing that they've implemented is there are certain places such as Vitacost, which is one of my favorite places to shop. Vitacost is one of the places you earn points that helps earn you money into your account. But you can also then right away, when you place your next order, any honey cash you have built up, you can apply that to whatever order. So you can just use it right away instead of having to worry about getting paid through PayPal. So I wanted to answer that because I thought that was a very relevant question, that what do I do if I don't have PayPal? Well, you can use that method. And I would assume any places where you can build up the honey points, you can do the same thing. You can apply your honey points in dollars to your order, so you can just use that right away. And then craft stuff, again, yes, I'm still crocheting like crazy because that's what I can do right now, and I like to always keep my hands busy. So if I'm not able to do sewing because I'm letting my knee heal and, you know, running a treadle machine, I need both legs to do it because I'm short and I have little feet. So I don't have as much leverage as those who have bigger feet. I did finish another Afghan, which I'll show you a picture of it here. And if you follow the community section or follow me on Freesteading, you would have seen this. But this is the one I did in the dark plum instead of a lighter purple like I did for my granddaughter, and then a darker green. And some of these I'm making to put into the Carrying Place auction that will be coming up in February of this next year, because I usually try to have something in there every year because it goes for a good cause. It helps, well, any moms. It doesn't have to be young moms, but anyone who's in need. It helps them get what they need, get proper counseling for their babies and their young children. They have all kinds of things there like cribs and more. You know, if people just can't afford to buy these things, even clothing, whatever people need, they have. And so I usually try, this is the one thing that I always try to donate something to, be it my time or goods for their auctions and so on. So anyway, some of these I'll be putting in those auctions, but I am thinking about selling some Afghans. I've never actually tried to sell an Afghan before. I remember when it used to cost me about $25 of just in yarn to make an Afghan. I know it's at least twice that much now. So there's that, plus the many hours that go into making it. I got to figure out an amount that's also going to be worth my time. It's not going to be cheap if I do sell them. Otherwise, I'm just going to put them all in the auction. But anyway, this is the most recent one I've started. So it's Irish Rose Square, and I found this pattern for the square itself for free online years ago, and I've made several Afghans, but just like that lilac Afghan, I had never took pictures of my Afghans back then, and that I would turn around and either give away as gifts or put in auctions. So I'm like, man, I never got pictures of those. So that's another reason why I've kind of been getting into making these again, so I could at least get pictures now to put into my folder. But anyway, I've got part of a strip done. So there's 5 squares right now. I'm going to use 8 squares per strip, and then I'm not sure how many strips I'm going to make all together, but I know 8 makes it pretty long because these are pretty good size squares because I use a J hook. But anyway, I'm going to link, I did look to find a free pattern again. It's a different site than I originally got it, but it is the same exact pattern for those of you who are crochet and are interested in making this, because it is a beautiful pattern. I just love it. And you can even make the rose where the inner part of the rose is one color and the outer is another color. So I'll put the link to that down below. I found it just for the sake of those who are wondering. And by the way, for those of you who don't crochet and would like to learn, I have a whole series of Crochet 101 where I start with the very, very basics, how to make a chain and so on, and working up from there, plus several videos on just some simple projects that anyone can do once you've got those basics down. So I'll link to that full playlist in the description box down below. And just if you're new and you don't know how to access that description box, it's going to depend on your device, but somewhere down here below the video screen, you'll see the word either more or show more. And when you click on that, it'll open up that whole description box to find the links and all other information I put in there. And then one more thing I wanted to say is that I am closing out that Dehydrating Collaboration because I've got a lot of photos in now. So as of today, the day this video is publishing anyway, which is April 17th, you have to the end of today to get your dehydrating photos in to go into that collaboration. And basically it's just anything you've dehydrated. It doesn't have to be based off my videos, but anything you've dehydrated and put up, make sure it's a nice, clean, clear picture. And you don't have to show it in the jars. You can show the process of dehydrating too. I've had people send me photos like that, showing it out on your trays. That's cool. You can label it if you want. Just know the only label I'm going to put on each photo is the name you asked me to put on there, whether it be your first name, your channel name, or your full name. I'll put it on there for you. But anyway, that's it. So if you want it labeled, you want people to know what it is, just go ahead and either add the labels over your photo or put in, just make your own little labels and put them either on the jars or next to whatever it is. So I don't know what my next collaboration after this is going to be. I'm probably going to start all over with the arts and crafts one, but I'll keep you updated on those in future this and that videos that publish every Monday. Stay tuned to these Monday videos so you know what I'm going to do for sure and when I'm going to start taking submissions to go into these videos. All right, well, that's my this and that for the day, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Take care, and God bless.